when Kong Min-jun, Seoul's most feared mafia boss, woke up in a hospital bed pretending he couldn't move. He thought he'd designed the perfect test of love. What he didn't expect was that the truth would come from the one person he'd never considered. His Brooklyn-born maid who saw through his performance like glass and had the audacity to call him out with a smile. Welcome back to my channel, where secrets never stay buried. Before the story begins, comment where you're watching from and hit subscribe, because this one will shock you. The accident was supposed to look convincing. Min-jun had paid good money for the crashed Mercedes, the perfectly placed debris, and Dr. Park's Oscar-worthy performance in the emergency room. What he hadn't paid for was the genuine terror in his own chest when the ambulance doors slammed shut, and he realized he'd just bet his entire future on a woman who'd once asked if his Rolex was water-resistant enough for the yacht. Mr. Kong, can you feel this? Dr. Park pressed something sharp against Min-jun's foot, his face a masterpiece of professional concern. They'd rehearsed this scene 5 times in the doctor's private office, complete with lighting cues and emotional beats. Min-jun kept his face blank, his body limp. Method acting at its finest. Nothing, Dr. Park announced gravely, turning to where Soo-jin stood in the doorway wearing sunglasses indoors like she was attending a funeral for her bank account. I'm afraid the damage to his spine is extensive. Soo-jin's hand flew to her mouth. Her diamond bracelet, the one Min-jun had bought her last month, caught the fluorescent light and sparkled like a disco ball of irony. But he'll recover? Tell me he'll recover. Doctor! The pause Dr. Park left was professionally devastating. Min-jun would have applauded if he wasn't supposed to be paralyzed. The next 72 hours will tell us everything, Dr. Park said, which was code for, I'm giving you 3 days to prove you're not a gold digger, lady. From his position on the hospital bed, Min-jun watched Soo-jin's face cycle through emotions like a slot machine. Shock, horror, calculation, more calculation, and finally landing on what he desperately wanted to believe was grief. She approached the bed with steps so delicate you'd think the floor was made of eggshells and broken dreams. Min-jun, she whispered, taking his hand. Her fingers were cold, or maybe his were. Hard to tell when you're faking a spinal injury and questioning your entire existence. I'm here. I'll always be here. The words should have warmed him. Instead, they sat in his chest like ice. She stayed for 47 minutes. Min-jun counted. She spent 30 of those minutes on her phone, 12 talking to Dr. Park about prognosis and care requirements, and 5 actually looking at him. When she left, her perfume lingered. Chanel No. 5 mixed with what smelled suspiciously like desperation. Well, Dr. Park said once she was gone, that was don't. Min-jun muttered, breaking character. Just don't. The doctor shrugged, pocketing the check that would cover his gambling debts and probably his kids' college tuition. Your funeral, boss. Or wedding. Whichever comes first. They moved Min-jun to his penthouse 3 days later. The place looked like a hospital had exploded in a luxury magazine. Medical equipment everywhere, nurses rotating in shifts, and enough flowers to open a funeral home. Soo-jin had decorated naturally. She had a gift for spending his money. We've set up the master bedroom as your recovery room, Nurse Young explained, a competent woman in her 50s who looked like she'd seen everything and was impressed by none of it. You'll have 24-hour care. Your fiancée insisted on the best. Of course she did. The best was also the most expensive. What Min-jun hadn't expected was the new hire. She walked into his room at 6 a.m. on his first morning home, and he knew immediately that his carefully constructed plan had just encountered a variable he hadn't accounted for. Zara Johnson was 25, black, Brooklyn-born, and looking at him like he was a particularly interesting science experiment that might explode. She wore the standard Maid uniform, but somehow made it look like a statement, like she was doing him a favor by being there, not the other way around. Morning, Mr. Kong, she said, her accent thick as honey and twice as sweet. She set down a breakfast tray with the efficiency of someone who had better things to do. I'm Zara. I'll be handling your care during the day's shift. We're going to be spending a lot of time together, so let's establish some ground rules. Min-jun stared at the ceiling, maintaining character. Inside, he was intrigued. Nobody talked to him like that. Nobody. Rule 1, Zara continued, adjusting his pillows with more force than strictly necessary. I don't do pity. You're paralyzed, not dead, so I'm going to treat you like a person, not a plant. Rule 2, I play music while I work. You got a problem with Kendrick Lamar, you can blink it out in Morse code or something. Rule 3, she paused, and Min Jun felt her eyes on him. Really on him. Like she was looking through his skin and bones and seeing something underneath. Rule 3, she said softer, I've seen a lot of things in my 25 years. Grew up in Crown Heights with 3 younger brothers who faked sick more times than I can count. So if you're running some kind of game here, Mr. Kong, just know, I'm from Brooklyn. We invented games. Min Jun's heart stuttered. He kept his face blank, but internally, he was screaming. She knew, or suspected, or was the most dangerously perceptive person he'd ever met. Zara straightened up, smiled like butter wouldn't melt in her mouth, and headed for the door. Breakfast is Eggs Benedict. Your coffee's black like your soul probably is, and your fiancée called. She'll be by around noon. Said she has a charity thing this morning. For orphans or puppies or something. Very important. The sarcasm could have cut glass. When she left, Min Jun lay there staring at the ceiling, realizing he'd just made the biggest mistake of his criminal career. He thought Soo Jin was the test. But Zara Johnson from Brooklyn? She was the reckoning. Soo Jin arrived at 12:47 p.m., wearing head-to-toe, door morning chic, black dress, tasteful pearls, sunglasses that cost more than most people's rent. She looked like she was attending a very fashionable funeral. Darling, she swept into the room, trailing perfume and privilege. How are you feeling? The doctor says you're adjusting well to being home. Min Jun stared at the ceiling. Soo Jin took his hand, her grip loose, distracted. I've been thinking, she continued, settling into the chair beside his bed, but angling herself toward the mirror across the room. About our future. About what this means for us. The wedding will obviously need to be postponed, but she squeezed his hand. I want you to know I'm committed. For better or worse, right? The worse hung in the air like a threat. She stayed for an hour, most of which she spent on her phone, occasionally looking up to deliver encouraging statements that sounded like they'd been copied from a greeting card. You're so strong. We'll get through this. Love conquers all. Each phrase landed with the sincerity of a commercial jingle. Zara came in during minute 47 to check his vitals. She moved around Soo Jin like the woman was furniture, efficient and unbothered. How's his blood pressure? Soo Jin asked, not looking up from her phone. Higher than it should be, Zara replied, and Min Jun could hear the smile at her voice. Probably stress. Or, the whole paralysis thing. Soo Jin hummed, typing something. That's nice. After Soo Jin left, she had a lunch thing that absolutely couldn't be rescheduled. Zara came back to remove the untouched tea Soo Jin had prepared but never actually offered him. So, Zara said, adjusting his blankets with unnecessary vigor, your fiancée seems nice. Real attentive. The way she looked at you with such deep concern while shopping online for shoes, that's true love right there. The poets should write about that. Min Jun wanted to laugh, or cry, or break character and hire this woman as his personal bodyguard because anyone this observant was wasted on housekeeping. You know what's interesting, Mr. Kong? Zara continued, fluffing pillows that didn't need fluffing. Paralyzed people usually have certain involuntary responses. Muscle spasms, reflex reactions. But you're controlled. Almost too controlled. Like someone who's really, really good at staying still. She leaned close, her voice dropping to a whisper that somehow felt louder than shouting. I'm not saying you're faking. I'm just saying if I were a rich man who wanted to test someone's loyalty, paralysis would be a pretty dramatic way to do it. Also pretty stupid, but dramatic people do stupid things. It's like a law of nature. She straightened up, smiled bright as sunshine, and headed for the door. Physical therapy starts tomorrow. Hope you're ready, boss man. We're going to work those mysteriously responsive muscles real good. When she left, Min Jun lay there in the expensive silence of his penthouse prison, realizing that his plan to test Soo Jin's love had just become infinitely more complicated. Because Zara Johnson knew, and worse, she was going to make him work for whatever came next. Outside his window, Seoul glittered like scattered diamonds. Inside, Min Jun felt like he just bet everything on a game where someone had changed all the rules, and he was only now realizing he'd never actually known how to play. If you love dramatic stories with shocking endings, you're in the right place. Tap subscribe, like the video, and tell me where you're watching from before the story starts. The physical therapy sessions were, Min Jun decided, the universe's revenge for every terrible thing he'd ever done. And he'd done a lot of terrible things. Come on now, boss man, Zara grunted, lifting his supposedly paralyzed leg with the enthusiasm of someone who knew exactly what she was doing and was enjoying it way too much. We gotta keep that blood flowing. Don't want you getting all stiff and useless. She paused, grinned. More stiff and useless, I mean. Kendrick Lamar blasted from her phone. Something about being humble, which felt like a personal attack. Min Jun maintained his blank stare while internally cataloging all the ways this woman was both his savior and his torment. You know what's wild? Zara continued, rotating his ankle with the precision of someone who'd actually read the physical therapy manual. Your muscle tone is really good for someone who's been paralyzed for 2 weeks. Almost like these muscles get used regularly. At night maybe, when nobody's watching. Min Jun's eye twitched. Just slightly. Ooh, did you see that? Zara leaned closer, her brown eyes sparkling with mischief. That was definitely a twitch. Probably involuntary. Or maybe she dropped her voice. Maybe somebody's breaking character. Before Min Jun could process his rising panic, the door burst open. Sujin stood there in a pink Chanel suit that probably cost more than a small car. Her face arranged in what she clearly believed was concern, but looked more like someone had told her the stock market crashed. What's going on here? Sujin's voice could have frozen water. Her eyes locked onto Zara's hands on Min Jun's leg like she'd discovered a crime scene. Physical therapy, ma'am, Zara replied smoothly, not stopping her work. Doctor's orders. Gotta keep the circulation going. I didn't realize the therapy required such intimate positioning. Sujin stepped into the room, her heels clicking like a countdown. Perhaps I should take over Min Jun's care. As his fiancée, it's really my responsibility. Zara stood up, wiping her hands on a towel. You're welcome to try, ma'am. The last time you tried to move him, you almost dropped him because you were watching a video about handbags. The temperature in the room dropped 40 degrees. Excuse me. Sujin's smile could have cut steel. I don't think I appreciate your tone. And I don't think Mr. Kong appreciates being treated like an expensive houseplant you occasionally remember to water. Zara shot back, matching that smile with one of her own. But here we are. Min Jun, trapped in his paralysis performance, had never wanted popcorn more in his entire life. Sujin's face flushed red. You're just a help. Don't forget your place. My place is taking care of him. What's yours again? Professional fiancé? Gold-digging consultant? Zara tilted her head. I'm genuinely asking because from where I'm standing, I do more for him in one morning than you do in a week. If Min Jun could have applauded, he would have given a standing ovation. Since he couldn't, he just lay there, thoroughly entertained and absolutely terrified. Sujin's eyes narrowed to slits. You're fired. You can't fire me, ma'am. You don't pay me. Mr. Kong does. And last I checked, he hasn't said anything. Zara glanced at Min Jun. Have you, boss? Min Jun stared at the ceiling, screaming internally. He can't speak, Sujin hissed. Can't or won't, Zara murmured, then louder. Anyway, therapy's done for today. You two kids have fun. I'll be back at 6 for the evening routine. She left whistling, leaving behind the kind of tension that could spark fires. Sujin stood there, trembling with rage. Her designer purse clutched so tight her knuckles went white. When she finally spoke, her voice was poison sweet. That girl is a problem. Problems need to be solved. Min Jun's blood went cold. He knew that tone. He'd used that tone. That was the tone that preceded very bad things happening to very unfortunate people. That evening, Zara arrived right on schedule, but something was different. She moved through the room with her usual efficiency, but her hand shook slightly when she checked his four. Her usual commentary was missing. You okay? Min Jun wanted to ask, but couldn't. She caught him watching her, or pretending not to watch her, and forced a smile. Your fiancé is something else, boss man. Real piece of work. She paused, her voice dropping. She called me this afternoon. Said if I didn't quit, she'd make sure I regretted coming to Korea, which is, a totally normal thing to say to your fiancé's healthcare provider. Min Jun's jaw clenched. He forced himself to relax. Don't worry, though, Zara continued. but he could hear the fear underneath her bravado. I'm from Brooklyn. Takes more than a designer-wearing mean girl to scare me off. But she was scared. He could see it in the way she kept glancing at the door and how she positioned herself with her back to the wall. That night, after Zara left, Min-jun broke character for the first time since the charade began. He waited until the night nurse did her rounds, then carefully reached for his phone hidden under the mattress. He texted Kim Taeyong, his right-hand man, * Zara Johnson, Brooklyn, working as my day nurse. Soo-jin threatened her. I want 24-hour protection on her. Subtle. She doesn't know. *. The response came immediately. * boss? You're supposed to be paralyzed. *. Do it. And if anyone touches her, I want to know immediately. *. You're breaking your own cover for the maid? Min-jun stared at his phone, then typed. * She's the only person in this entire situation who actually gives a damn. So yes, for the maid. *. He deleted the conversation, hid the phone, and resumed his paralysis position. But his mind raced. Soo-jin was showing her true colors faster than he'd anticipated. And Zara, brave, reckless, sharp-tongued Zara, was caught in the crossfire of his stupid plan. Outside, Seoul's night traffic hummed like a lullaby. Somewhere in the building, two of his best men took positions to watch Zara's movements without her knowledge. And in his bed, Kang Min-jun, Seoul's most feared mafia boss, lay pretending to be helpless while plotting protection for a woman who'd called him out, challenged him, and somehow, impossibly, made him want to be a better man, or at least a more honest one. The irony wasn't lost on him. He'd started this whole performance to test love, but the person teaching him what it actually looked like wasn't his fiancée. It was the maid from Brooklyn who saw through his lies and stayed anyway. The champagne fundraiser was Soo-jin's masterpiece of audacity, a party in Min-jun's own penthouse to raise money for his medical expenses. Medical expenses he was funding for a condition he didn't have. The irony was so thick you could serve it with a spoon. Isn't she brave? Someone whispered loudly enough for the entire room to hear, standing by him despite everything. Min-jun, now positioned in a wheelchair for easier mobility, Dr. Park's suggestion to make the charade more believable, had a perfect view of his fiancée working the room like a politician's wife. Soo-jin wore a white dress that probably cost more than most people's cars, dabbing her eyes with a handkerchief while somehow never smudging her makeup. It's been so hard, she told a cluster of wealthy socialites, her voice breaking at precisely the right moments. But love means staying, doesn't it? Even when the situation gets difficult. Zara, serving champagne in the black and white uniform Soo-jin had insisted she wear, caught Min-jun's eye and mouth. She really said that. Min-jun's lip twitched, almost smiled. Dangerous. The party was torture. Min-jun watched Soo-jin laugh with Kim Jin-woo, a personal trainer whose credentials seemed to be really good abs and absolutely no shame. Jin-woo had his hand on the small of Soo-jin's back, and she leaned into him like gravity worked differently when expensive watches were involved. Baby, Soo-jin cooed, finally remembering Min-jun existed. She crouched beside his wheelchair, her perfume overwhelming. Are you comfortable? Do you need anything? A time machine to undo this entire plan, Min-jun thought. He's fine, ma'am. Zara interjected, appearing with a tray of champagne. I checked his vitals an hour ago. All normal. Suspiciously normal, actually. Soo-jin's eyes flashed. I don't recall asking for your medical opinion. And I don't recall you checking on him once in the last 3 hours, but here we are. Zara smiled sweetly. Champagne. You know what? Soo-jin stood abruptly, her voice rising. I'm tired of your insolence. You think because you're here every day that you know what's best for him? You're just the help, and you're just here for the money. Zara shot back. At least I'm honest about what I'm doing. The room went silent. Every conversation stopped. Every head turned. Soo-jin's face transformed into something ugly. How dare you? How dare I? Zara's Brooklyn accent thickened. Lady, I've been changing his clothes, feeding him, making sure he doesn't get bed sores while you've been shopping and planning parties. Don't come at me about dedication. You're crossing a line, Soo-jin hissed, stepping closer. Her hand trembled on her champagne glass. Then fire me. Oh wait, Zara leaned in. You can't. Because I actually work for him, not you. And unlike some people, I'm not planning to rob him blind the second I get a ring on my finger. It happened fast. Sujin's hand flew up, champagne glass and all, aiming for Zara's face. Zara dodged, but her foot caught on the decorative rug. The expensive Persian one Sujin had insisted on despite Min Jun's designer specifically warning about trip hazards. Zara went down hard. Her head cracked against the corner of the marble coffee table with a sound that made Min Jun's stomach drop. Blood, immediate and bright red, pooling on the white marble like spilled wine. For a moment, nobody moved. Then chaos erupted. Min Jun's hands gripped his wheelchair armrests, so hard his knuckles went white. Every instinct screamed to jump up, to help her, to break this stupid performance, and oh my god, Sujin gasped hand over mouth. But Min Jun saw it. That flicker of satisfaction in her eyes before the fake concern settled in. It was an accident. She tripped. Everyone saw. She tripped. Guests murmured agreement. Of course they did. Sujin was one of them. Zara was just the help. Kim Taeyong, who'd been posing as regular security, was already moving. He scooped Zara up with practiced efficiency. I'll get her to the hospital. Zara's eyes fluttered open for just a second. She looked directly at Min Jun, and he saw the betrayal there. You just sat there, her eyes said. You just watched. His heart cracked like that coffee table. After they left, after the guests awkwardly dispersed with their fundraiser donations that would somehow end up funding Sujin's shopping addiction, Min Jun sat alone in his wheelchair, staring at Zara's blood on his floor. Sujin returned from seeing the last guests out, her mask finally dropping. She poured herself a drink, kicked off her heels, and sprawled on the couch. Well, that was dramatic. At least the girl's finally gone. Silver lining. She pulled out her phone, giggled at something, then made a call. Jin Woo? Yes, they all left. No, he's right here. Can't exactly go anywhere, can he? She laughed cold and sharp. Thursday works. His place. He'll never know. Baby, he can't even move. We could throw a party on his chest, and he wouldn't know. Min Jun's blood turned to ice. The accounts. Sujin continued, examining her nails. Once we're married, I'll have access to everything. Then we just need to wait for the right moment. No, I'm not suggesting we hurt him. I'm suggesting accidents happen to paralyzed people all the time. Infections. Complications. Very tragic. Very convenient. She was planning to kill him. His fiancée was literally planning his murder while he sat 3 feet away. I love you too, she purred into the phone. This will all be over soon. Then it's just you, me, and about 500 million in assets. She hung up, drained her champagne, and looked at Min Jun with eyes completely devoid of warmth. You know what's funny? You always said you couldn't trust anyone. Turns out you were right. She patted his cheek like he was a dog. Too bad you figured it out too late. She walked away, leaving him there in his wheelchair, surrounded by the debris of his stupid plan. His phone buzzed in his pocket, the one he'd been keeping hidden. A text from Taeyong. Asterisk Zara has a concussion. 12 stitches. Asking about you. What do I tell her? Asterisk. Min Jun stared at that blood on the floor. At the party decorations, mocking him. At the life he'd built on lies now collapsing because he'd tested the wrong person. He typed back. Tell her I'm sorry. Tell her she was right about everything. And give me Dr. Park. This performance ends tonight. Another text came through, this one from his accountant. Mr. Kong, Mississippi Park Sujin requested access to your offshore accounts. Said it was for wedding planning. Should I proceed? Min Jun's laugh was bitter. Wedding planning, right? He rolled his wheelchair to the window overlooking Seoul. The city glittered like scattered diamonds, beautiful and cold. Somewhere out there, Zara was in a hospital bed because of him. And somewhere in his own home, his fiancée was planning his murder like it was another item on her shopping list. The paralysis test was over. He'd learned the truth about Sujin, but the price was higher than he'd ever imagined. And the person who'd paid, it wasn't even part of the original equation. Zara from Brooklyn, who'd seen through his lies, who'd cared for him anyway, who'd challenged him and made him laugh. She was the one bleeding. And Min Jun, Seoul's most dangerous man, had just sat there and let happen. Time to stop pretending. Time to move. Time to show everyone why you didn't cross Kong Min Jun, and especially why you didn't hurt the people he cared about. Even if he'd only just realized he cared at all. Dr. Park arrived at 2 a.m. looking like he'd been dragged through hell backwards, which was fair because Min Jun's text had said, "Get here now, or I'll tell your wife about the college girl in Gangnam." "You're a terrible patient," Dr. Park muttered, checking Min Jun's perfectly functional legs. "Also blackmail?" "Really?" says the man I'm paying to lie to everyone. Min Jun swung his legs off the wheelchair, standing for the first time in 3 weeks. His muscles screamed, "Totally worth it." "How bad is she?" "The maid?" "Concussion, 12 stitches, mild traumatic brain injury." "She kept asking if you were okay." Dr. Park shook his head. "That girl's got terrible taste in employers. She's got excellent taste. I'm delightful." Min Jun paced his bedroom, his legs wobbling like a newborn giraffe. "How long until I can walk normally?" "You've been lying down for 3 weeks, pretending to be paralyzed. Your muscles are weak. Give it a few days of actual physical therapy." Dr. Park packed his bag. "Though honestly, after what I saw in the security footage, you should have broken character and thrown that fiancée of yours off the balcony." Min Jun had watched that footage 17 times. Each viewing made him angrier. "I need you to do something for me." "More fraud?" "I'm listening. Tell everyone I'm showing miraculous improvement, that I'm regaining some upper body mobility, enough that I can start using my arms, maybe sit up on my own." Min Jun's smile was sharp enough to cut, but still paralyzed from the waist down, still helpless, still the perfect victim. Dr. Park grinned. "You're going to destroy her. I'm going to obliterate her. But first," Min Jun pulled out his phone, "I need to fix something." Zara woke up in a private hospital room that was way too nice for someone with her insurance. Her head felt like someone had used it as a drum in a heavy metal concert. The last thing she remembered was Soo-jin's face, twisted with rage, and then, "You're awake." "Thank God." She turned her head, "Ow, bad idea," and saw Kim Tae-young sitting in the corner chair. Min Jun's right-hand man, the one who pretended to be regular security but moved like someone who'd killed people and slept fine afterward. "Who's paying for this room?" Zara's voice came out scratchy. "Because I definitely can't afford the thread count on these sheets. Mr. Kong is covering everything. Medical bills, accommodations," and Taeyong stood, approaching the bed. "You wanted me to give you this." He handed her an envelope. Inside was a check that made Zara's eyes water, and not from the concussion. 6 months of salary. In one payment. He's firing me. Her heart sank. Because his psycho fiancé tried to kill me? No. He's paying you to take a week off to recover. Paid leave. Taeyong's expression softened slightly. "He also wanted me to tell you that you were right about everything, and that he's sorry. The paralyzed man wanted you to tell me he's sorry." Zara laughed, then winced because her head really didn't appreciate humor right now. "That's rich. Literally. There's more." Taeyong pulled out a tablet, tapped a few times, and showed her security footage. "This is from last night, after you left." Zara watched Soo-jin's phone call, watched her plan Min Jun's murder like she was ordering takeout. Watch her laugh about it. "Oh, that bitch," Zara whispered. Then louder, "That bitch. She's actually planning to kill him." "Keep your voice down. You have a concussion." But Taeyong was smiling. "Mr. Kong has a plan, but he needs your help." "My help? I'm the one with 12 stitches in my head." Zara touched the bandage gingerly. "What could I possibly? He needs someone on the inside. Someone Soo-jin underestimated. Someone who can feed her false information while we build a case against her." Taeyong leaned forward. "Someone from Brooklyn who's seen enough soap operas to know how this should go." Zara stared at him. "You want me to go back there? To that house where she literally tried to kill me? With full protection. Round-the-clock security you won't even see." And Taeyong's smile turned predatory, the satisfaction of watching her downfall from the front row. Zara should have said no. Should have taken the check, gone back to Brooklyn, and let these rich people destroy each other in peace. But she thought about Min Jun lying there, trapped in his own stupid plan. Thought about how he'd looked at her during physical therapy like she was the only real thing in his fake world. Thought about Soo-jin's smug face saying she tripped. "What's the plan?" Zara asked. 3 days later, Zara returned to the penthouse with fresh stitches, a massive chip on her shoulder, and a recording device hidden in her bra that Taeyong had assured her was completely undetectable and also waterproof. "Don't ask why we have these." Soo-jin was in the living room when Zara arrived, mid-conversation with Jin Woo, who was shirtless for some reason. Because of course he was. Oh, Sujin's face cycled through surprise, annoyance, and finally landing on fake concern. Zara, you're back. How unexpected. Concussions heal. Zara set down her bag. Bills don't pay themselves. I'm surprised you'd want to return after such a traumatic accident. Sujin's emphasis on accident could have cut glass. Accidents happen, Zara replied sweetly, especially around clumsy rich girls who think they can buy their way out of assault charges. Jin Woo stood up, all 6 foot whatever of unnecessary muscle. You should watch your tone, and you should watch your shirt situation. This is a workplace, not a beefcake calendar. Zara walked past him toward Min Jun's room. Mr. Kong needs his medication. She found Min Jun in his wheelchair by the window, exactly where they'd positioned him. But when she got close, his hand actually moved, and grabbed her wrist gently. You came back, he whispered, barely audible. Someone's got to make sure you don't get murdered by your gold-digging fiancée and her shirtless sidekick, Zara whispered back. Then louder, for anyone listening, let's check your vitals, Mr. Kong. As she worked, Min Jun's eyes followed her, full of questions and something else. Something that made Zara's traitorous heart skip. Dr. Park says I'm showing improvement, Min Jun said, his voice stronger. Upper body mobility returning. It's a miracle. Miracles happen, Zara replied, checking his blood pressure, especially when you've got a good reason to fight back. From the hallway, they heard Sujin laugh at something Jin Woo said. The sound was like nails on a chalkboard. She's getting comfortable, Min Jun murmured. Good, Zara replied. Comfortable people make mistakes, and we're going to catch every single one. She leaned close, pretending to adjust his pillow, and whispered, for the record, boss man, this is the stupidest plan I've ever been part of. And I once helped my brother fake his own kidnapping to get out of test. Min Jun's lip twitched, almost smiled. How'd that turn out? He passed the makeup test, but my mom grounded him for 6 months. Zara straightened up, professional mask back in place. Let's hope your ending is better. It will be, Min Jun said, his voice carrying a promise sharp as broken glass. Because this time, I'm not pretending. Outside the window, Seoul glittered with possibility. Inside the penthouse, 2 people who should have been enemies were becoming something else entirely. And in the living room, a woman who thought she'd won was about to learn why you never underestimated the help. Especially when the help was for Brooklyn and had nothing left to lose. The thing about revenge, Zara decided, was that it required patience, planning, and a disturbing amount of acting skills. Also, really good concealer for the stitches on her forehead. You're enjoying this too much, Min Jun muttered during their morning physical therapy session, which was actually their daily strategy meeting disguised as medical care. I'm enjoying this the exact right amount, Zara countered, rotating his perfectly functional arm while Cardi B blasted from her phone. Yesterday, Sujin asked me to make her a smoothie. A smoothie. For the woman who gave me a concussion. I made it with kale, protein powder, and Sprite. Did she drink it? Every drop. Complimented the flavor. Zara grinned. Sprite tastes like victory, apparently. Min Jun's laugh was quiet but genuine. Over the past week, he'd regained enough mobility to use his arms, sit up, and generally look like someone recovering miraculously from paralysis. Dr. Park's performance at the last checkup had been Emmy-worthy. It's unprecedented. The spine is healing itself. Medical science cannot explain this. Medical science could absolutely explain it. Min Jun was never paralyzed, but nobody needed those details. She's getting bolder, Min Jun said, his expression darkening. Last night, she and Jin Woo were looking at houses in Jeju Island, using my laptop, in my living room. The audacity. Zara shook her head. I bet they were expensive houses too. $15 million beach property. She bookmarked it under future plans. Not even subtle about it. Zara paused. Wait, if you can see what she's bookmarking, that means you're using my hands when she's not around? Yes. Min Jun wiggled his fingers. Taeyong set up surveillance on all devices. We're documenting everything. You know what we need? Zara sat back, thinking. We need her to confess. On camera. Something so clear that even her expensive lawyers can't spin it. And how do we do that? Zara's smile turned wicked. We give her exactly what she wants. The plan was beautiful in its simplicity. Min-jun would have another medical episode, something scary enough to make Soo-jin think the end was near. Dr. Park would deliver grave news about his prognosis. And Soo-jin, thinking victory was close, would hopefully incriminate herself. "This is either brilliant or the dumbest thing we've ever done," Taeyong said, setting up hidden cameras throughout the penthouse. "Can it be both?" Zara offered, testing camera angles. The episode was scheduled for Thursday evening, prime time for drama. Min-jun committed hard to the performance, complete with labored breathing and a concerning heart rate that Dr. Park had to genuinely calm down because Min-jun was method acting himself into an actual medical emergency. "Boss, you need to relax," Dr. Park hissed. "Your blood pressure is actually dangerous now." A motivated Min-jun gasped. Soo-jin arrived in a black Valentino dress, morning couture, ready to go, and her performance was equally committed. "What's happening? What's wrong with him?" "His condition is deteriorating," Dr. Park announced gravely. "The stress on his system. I'm not sure he'll make it through the month." Soo-jin's hand flew to her mouth, but Zara, watching from the doorway, saw it. That flash of excitement in her eyes. That quick calculation. "Oh God," Soo-jin sobbed, but her tears were as real as her hair color. "Isn't there anything we can do? Keep him comfortable. Reduce stress." And Dr. Park delivered his Oscar moment. Perhaps finalize any important arrangements. Just in case. After Dr. Park left, Soo-jin stayed in the room exactly 4 minutes before her phone came out. She texted someone, "Jin-woo, probably," and then made a call. "It's happening sooner than we thought," she whispered, thinking Min-jun was unconscious. "The doctor says weeks, maybe days." "Yes, I'm sure." "No, the will is already in my favor. Once we're married, everything transfers automatically. We just need to wait." She hung up, looked at Min-jun with cold calculation, then left the room. Her heels clicked away like a countdown. Zara entered immediately. "You get all that?" Min-jun opened one eye. "Every word. But it's still not enough. We need more." Then we push harder. Zara helped him sit up. "What if you proposed moving up the wedding? Make it seem like you want to marry her before you die." "That's," Min-jun paused, "actually perfect. She won't be able to resist." "Of course it's perfect. I'm from Brooklyn. We invented schemes." Zara adjusted his pillows. "Though I gotta say, boss man, for someone pretending to be dying, you look pretty healthy." "That's because you're a good nurse. I'm an excellent nurse. And an even better actress. You should see my one-woman show of woman concussed by gold digger doesn't press charges." Zara's smile faded. Yet, Min-jun caught her hand. His grip was warm, steady. "When this is over, I'm buying you a plane ticket anywhere you want to go. When this is over, you're paying my student loans. All of them. That's the price for getting dragged into your soap opera life." "Deal." He paused. "Though you could stay. In Seoul. If you wanted." Zara's heart did something complicated. "Let's survive your fake death first. Then we'll talk about my employment future." The next morning, Min-jun called Soo-jin to his room. She arrived in white, bridal practice, probably, and her face was arranged in concerned fiancé mode. "Darling, you wanted to see me? Marry me," Min-jun said, his voice weak but determined. "Now, this week. I don't want to wait. I want you to be my wife before." He let the sentence hang. Soo-jin's eyes lit up like Christmas morning. "Oh, Min-jun," she breathed, already calculating. "Are you sure? In your condition?" "I'm dying," Min-jun said, which was technically true. Everyone was dying, just at different speeds. "I want to know you're taken care of. That everything I've built goes to you. Everything." Soo-jin's voice went up half an octave. "Everything. The business. The accounts. The properties." Min-jun grabbed her hand with his newly mobile fingers. "I'm changing my will. You'll inherit all, but only if we're married." Soo-jin tried to look touched instead of triumphant. She failed spectacularly. I don't know what to say." "Say yes. Make me happy before I go." "Yes." She threw her arms around him, careful not to disturb any medical equipment. "Yes, of course, yes." "Oh, this is so romantic." Romantic like a shark smelling blood, Zara thought from the doorway, her phone recording everything. After Soo-jin left to start planning, Min-jun looked at Zara. She took the bait, like a starving fish in a barrel. Zara stopped recording. "Now what?" Now we give her enough rope to hang herself. Minjun's smile was sharp as broken glass. And we make sure everyone's watching when she does. From the hallway, they heard Soo-jin on the phone. Jin-woo, we're getting married this week. Yes, I know what that means. Once he's gone, it's all ours. I know, baby, I know. Just a little longer. Zara and Min-jun exchanged looks. She's really not subtle, Zara observed. No, Min-jun agreed. But she's about to learn that neither am I. Outside, Seoul sparkled with late afternoon light. Inside, a trap was being set with wedding bells as bait. And Soo-jin, blinded by greed, was walking straight into it. The wedding was scheduled for Saturday at the penthouse, small, intimate, and according to Soo-jin, tastefully morbid given the circumstances. She'd chosen white roses, which Min-jun found hilariously appropriate since they were traditionally for funerals. She's really committing to the theme, Zara muttered. Watching the wedding planner transform the living room into what looked like a very expensive death ceremony. It's like she's marrying you and burying you at the same time. Efficient, Min-jun replied from his wheelchair. He was wearing a tuxedo that probably cost more than a small car, looking every bit the dying groom. How do I look? Like a snack, Zara said, then immediately regretted it. I mean, like a dying man. A dying man who should not be attractive, but somehow still is. I need to stop talking. Min-jun's smile was dangerous. Please don't. The past 3 days had been a masterclass in capturing evidence. Soo-jin and Jin-woo had been spectacularly stupid, discussing their plans in the penthouse, over dinner, even in Min-jun's hospital room when they thought he was sleeping. The cameras caught everything. The recordings were crystal clear. But Min-jun wanted the finale to be perfect. Everyone's in position, he asked Taeyong, who was disguised as a wedding photographer. Security at every exit. Real police waiting outside. Prosecutors watching the live feed. Taeyong adjusted his camera. This is either the best takedown I've ever seen or the most expensive wedding prank in history. Why not both? Zara grinned. The ceremony began at sunset. 30 guests filled the penthouse. Soo-jin's friends, business associates, and people who definitely didn't know they were attending a sting operation disguised as a wedding. Soo-jin descended the staircase in a Vera Wang gown that probably cost 6 figures, looking like an angel if angels were heartless and motivated by offshore bank accounts. She'd gone full mourning bride aesthetic, black veil, dark lipstick, the works. She looks like she's marrying Dracula, Zara whispered to Taeyong. Don't insult Dracula. At least he had standards. The officiant, who was definitely not a real officiant, but actually Min-jun's lawyer wearing robes, began the ceremony. Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to witness. Wait. Min-jun's voice rang out. Strong, clear, very much not dying. Every head turned. Soo-jin's face went white under her makeup. Before we continue, Min-jun said, standing up from his wheelchair, actually standing, I have something to show everyone. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Soo-jin stumbled backward. Min-jun, you're standing. Miracle recovery, Min-jun said dryly. Medical science is amazing. Want to know what else is amazing? Hidden cameras. He nodded to Taeyong, who pulled out a remote and activated the massive TV screen behind them. The footage began playing. Every conversation, every plan, every cold-blooded scheme Soo-jin had made over the past month. Once he's dead, we can finally be together. The accounts transfer automatically. Accidents happen to paralyzed people all the time. The room fell silent except for Soo-jin's recorded voice plotting murder like she was ordering takeout. You bastard. Soo-jin lunged at Min-jun, all pretense of gentle fiancé evaporating. You were faking? This whole time. The whole time. Min-jun confirmed, catching her wrists easily. Turns out I don't trust easily. Funny how that works out. Jin-woo tried to run. He made it approximately 5 feet before Taeyong's security team materialized and tackled him into an expensive flower arrangement. White roses everywhere. Poetic. You can't do this. Soo-jin shrieked as police entered. We're getting married. That's conspiracy or entrapment or, actually, Min-jun's lawyer stepped forward, removing his fake efficient robes. It's fraud, attempted murder conspiracy, and my personal favorite, really, really bad decision-making. Also, this marriage license? Fake. Just like your love. Just like everything about you. The police read Sujin her rights while she screamed about lawyers and lawsuits, and how this wasn't fair. Jin Woo just cried, which was somehow more satisfying. As they dragged Sujin away, she locked eyes with Zara. "This is your fault. You poisoned him against me." "Nah," Zara replied cheerfully. "You did that all by yourself. I just made sure he didn't die while figuring it out. Also, she touched her stitches. You gave me a concussion. So legally and morally, I'm allowed to enjoy this. I hope you're happy together." Sujin spat like it was a curse. "Thanks. We're working on it." Zara called back. The door slammed shut. The guests stood in stunned silence. Then someone started clapping. Then everyone was clapping, because apparently rich people found entertainment in anything, including public takedowns disguised as weddings. Min Jun turned to Zara. "We're working on it." I panicked. She was yelling. Zara's face heated. I mean, unless you want to, I'm going to stop talking now." "Don't." Min Jun stepped closer, his gaze intense. "Don't stop talking. Don't stop calling me out. Don't stop being the only person in my life who sees through my bullshit and stays anyway." "That sounds suspiciously like feelings, boss man." "It is feelings. Lots of them. Inconvenient ones." He took her hand. "You saved my life. Not from Sujin, from myself. From becoming the kind of person who trusts no one and ends up alone in a fake wheelchair, testing fake love. To be fair, you did end up in a fake wheelchair. But I found real love." Min Jun's smile was soft, vulnerable in a way Zara had never seen. "Did not." Zara's heart hammered against her ribs. Around them, wedding guests pretended not to listen while absolutely listening. Taeyong had his camera up, definitely recording. "I came to Seoul running from my problems," Zara said quietly. "Student loans, bad ex-boyfriend, family drama. I took this job because it paid well. I stayed because she looked up at him. Because you were worth staying for. Even when you were being an idiot. Especially when you were being an idiot. Is that a yes?" "You didn't ask a question." Min Jun dropped to one knee. "On legs that worked perfectly fine. Thank you very much." Zara Johnson from Brooklyn, who sees through my lies, who gave me hell during physical therapy, who got hurt because of my stupid plan and came back anyway. "If you're about to propose, I'm going to need better than a recycled wedding setup," Zara interrupted. "I'm not proposing. Yet." His grin was pure mischief. "I'm asking if you'll stay. In Seoul. With me. Let me pay your student loans, take you to every temple in Asia, and maybe, if you're interested, figure out what this thing between us actually is. This thing. This terrifying, complicated, absolutely inconvenient thing where I can't imagine my life without you in it." Zara pretended to think about it. "Will there be more schemes? More dramatic takedowns? More situations where I have to question your sanity?" "Probably. I'm a mafia boss. Drama follows me. And you'll actually go to physical therapy? Real physical therapy? Because 3 weeks in bed made you weak as a baby deer." "Yes. And you let me blast Cardi B whenever I want? Within reason. No reason. Full volume." Min Jun laughed. "Deal." Zara pulled him to his feet. He wobbled slightly, still recovering, and kissed him. In front of 30 witnesses, 3 cameras, and the ruins of what was supposed to be a wedding but became something so much better. When they broke apart, the room erupted in applause again. Taeyong wiped his eyes. "That's beautiful, boss. Really beautiful. Also, you're trending on social media. Someone live-streamed the whole thing." "Perfect," Min Jun said, not taking his eyes off Zara. "Let everyone know. Kong Min Jun is off the market. Technically, you were engaged like 5 minutes ago," Zara pointed out. "That was fake. This," he pulled her closer, "this is real." 3 months later, Zara stood in Min Jun's penthouse. Their penthouse now, watching Seoul sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and pink. Her student loans were paid. Her mom's salon was saved. Her ex-boyfriend had mysteriously stopped calling after receiving a friendly visit from some of Min Jun's associates. Life was good. Weird, but good. "You're thinking too loud," Min Jun said, wrapping his arms around her from behind. He'd fully recovered from his fake paralysis, though Zara still made him do exercises because weak baby deer was a nickname that stuck. "I'm thinking about how 3 months ago, I was just trying to pay off debt and see some temples. And now I'm dating a mafia boss who faked paralysis to test his gold-digging fiancée, and somehow made me fall in love with him in the process. She leaned into him. My life is a K-drama. Is that a complaint? It's an observation. She turned in his arms. Though I have one question. Anything. When are you actually going to propose? Because that knee drop thing at the fake wedding doesn't count, and I have standards. Min Jun's smile turned wicked. Who says I haven't already planned it? Have you? Maybe. Min Jun, let's just say he kissed her nose. When it happens, it'll be worth the wait. No wheelchairs. No fake medical conditions. Just me, you, and a question that I already know the answer to. Confident. Accurate. He pulled back, studying her face like he was memorizing it. I love you, Zora Johnson for Brooklyn. You're the best mistake I ever made. Hiring me was the mistake? No. The mistake was thinking I could test love. Turns out, love tests you. And you, he kissed her. You're the only test I want to keep taking. Zara's heart melted into a puddle of feelings she'd spent her whole life guarding against. That was almost smooth. Almost. Stick with crime, boss man. Poetry isn't your strong suit. But you love me anyway? She kissed him again, tasting like laughter and possibility and everything Min Jun didn't know he needed until a maid from Brooklyn with zero patience for his nonsense walked into his life. Yeah, Zara whispered against his lips. I really, really do. Outside, Seoul glittered with promise. Inside, two people who'd found each other in the strangest circumstances stood together, planning a future that involved less fake paralysis and more actual happiness. Though knowing Min Jun, Zara thought there would definitely be more drama. She was counting on it. The yindi, but really, when will he propose? Comment Inno Gold Diggers if you think Zara deserves the biggest ring Seoul has ever seen. And hit subscribe if you're Team Zara. Only people like Soo Jin won't. Don't be a Soo Jin. Subscribe now.